Om. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahe Tejasvinavaditamastu ma Vidvishavahe. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Devo Maheshwara Gurudeva Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Chinmayam Vyapiyat Sarvam Trailokyam Sacharacharam Tatpadam Darshitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Om Shri Chinmaya Sadgurave Namaha. Om Shri Chinmaya Sadgurave Namaha. Om Shri Chinmaya Sadgurave Namaha. What's the most important question that we have to answer in our lives? And probably nobody's going to talk, so I will tell you. The question is, who am I? The most important journey that any one of us have to make is understanding who we are. 1 second. And this fundamental question of who we are then has implications in so many different ways. The way we will relate to other people will be based on who we think we are. Even what we will do will be based on this, who we think we are. Even what we consider to be right and wrong, or beneficial or non-beneficial, will be based on who we think we are. So to give you an example, Arjuna in the Gita is a warrior, and he has to understand that he's a warrior because he has to fight. And you and I, do we have to fight? Not the same way Arjuna does, because we are not warriors in a battle. We might be having our own inner disputes that we have to fight against our weaknesses, but we don't have to physically fight. And so what we have to do will be based on who we are. What's the right thing for us to do will be based on who we are. And then how we relate to each other also is based on who we are. And our peace of mind will also depend on our understanding of who we are. So we have many layers of our personality, and it's important that we get to know ourselves at all the layers. So we are physical beings. And so we have to eat what's correct for us. We have to exercise. We have to groom ourselves in a way that is flattering for us. Important. I mean, we don't have to be excessively well groomed, but know what suits me, what doesn't suit me, or what kind of, if again, if I'm a professional, the way to dress, if I'm a designer, the way to dress. So even from that very physical sense, we need to understand ourselves so everything can fit in. When I understand my body, I eat what suits me. I know how much I can. I know how much I need. I know how much I need to sleep. I know how much I need to, whether it be something like exercise or meet people, right? Because I need that, although that's more mind than physical. So when we take ourselves to be the bodies, we understand our bodies and we cater to it. Then we understand who we are as social beings, our mind and intellect, our emotions. And the last 2 years have been incredible for us to understand ourselves as social beings, because some people really need engagement and interaction. And other people are really happy to be alone. And in the last 2 years, when being alone was forced, some people who were previously very social realized, actually, I'm really liking being alone. And vice versa. Sometimes we tell ourselves that, no, I can be by myself. And then we're going crazy because we can't go out and meet people. And it's not always easy to know which one we are, because a lot of times situations will just pan out and we just go along with the situation, work requirements, and we just go along with work and we cope. Because this is an incredible thing about the human personality, charm, ability. We cope with just about anything that gets thrown our way. We adjust, we'll whinge, we'll complain, we have trauma, we get depressed, but we cope and we adjust. Some of us better than others, but we will all eventually adjust, like we have now in this pandemic situation. Okay, so I'm a physical being, and then there's the emotional aspect of me. And the more I understand my emotional aspect, the more, in terms of my well-being, I can look after it. If I'm someone that needs to speak, then I find healthy ways to do that. If I'm someone that has trouble speaking, but sometimes it's necessary to, then I learn the skill to do that. So when I know who I am, I know better how to look after myself. So who am I emotionally? How sensitive am I? How objective am I? How needy am I? How attached am I? How much value do I place on other people's opinion? How much value do I place on my own ability to withstand or to endure, my ability to be resilient? And all of us will have different values, or we have the same values, but we give different priorities to values. Like all of us might have the value of discipline, but some of us will give discipline a whole lot more importance. Yeah. All of us value patience, but some of us will give patience a lot more importance. So as a teacher, definitely the quality of patience is something I have to give more importance to. I have to be able to sit and look at a screen full of children not a classroom full of children anymore. Now it's a screen full of children and nobody's talking. Some of them are playing their computer games. I can tell they're playing computer games. Some of them are chatting to each other. I can tell. I have to breathe, be loving, be kind. Think of an inspiring thought to bring everybody's attention back. Patience, right? Not everyone needs that quality, or might not everyone prioritizes that quality. So patience I need in my role as a teacher. But for some of us, we actually really value it. So it's not that I need it to function. I want it because I think it's such a beautiful thing. Courage, compassion, cheerfulness, resilience. These are all qualities, and we'll value them to different extent. So to know myself is to understand what I have, but also what I really value. Because I can really value it, but I don't necessarily have it. So this question, who am I? And this getting to know myself is an incredibly important part of any self journey and any spiritual journey. So I'm going to pause on this point and we're going to come back to it. And I'm going to go to who the scriptures tell us we are. So it's actually, no, it can be built up. We're the body, we're the mind, we're the intellect, we're this personality. And then we don't necessarily function from the point of view that I am a divine entity. We may not even entertain that thought on a very regular basis. I am a divine entity. Well, I can't use the word entity. I am divine. Full stop. After divine, you cannot put anything because you cannot qualify divine. So I am divine. But I may not think that. And, you know, obviously, when I'm filling out my form, when they're asking me about my personal details, no, none of us are putting divine. We don't do that. But scriptures say that's who we are. Scriptures say, and actually Swami Vivekananda puts it so beautifully in his quote, we are not bodies with souls, because then we body and we have this soul. We are souls with body. It's like if I have a handbag, that's not me. And it might be a very high fashion handbag, and then just give it away. So many people, right? Don't need it anymore. Want a new one. Or, you know, shoulder is sore, don't want handbag. Just, I can do without it. When I'm a body with a soul, I can't do without body. When I'm a soul with a body, I can do without body. It's the handbag. I use it when I need it, don't need to use it when I don't need it. Now, from a spiritual point of view, who am I? So, divine. Essence, love, truth, bliss. And in Vedanta, we refer to it as Brahman. Okay. So this is a very beautiful point in terms of understanding self-love, because I know that's the topic today, even though I haven't said it yet. In this understanding, as per the Upanishads, of who we are, what would self-love be? So the Upanishads say, I am divine, I am love, I am happiness, I am fearless, infinite, immutable, birthless, deathless, timeless, causeless, spaceless. Where does self-love feature? It doesn't. Because the other thing the Upanishads say is, this divinity that I am, it alone exists. Nothing else exists. There's nothing else to love. So there's only me to love. But I'm not loving me. I am love. There's a huge difference between me loving and me being love. Just like sugar isn't making any effort to be sweet. It's not a doing. Sugar is not doing sweetness. Sugar is sweet. Sugar doesn't have to do anything to be sweet. It just is sweet. And whatever it does, it will remain sweet. So I am love. Then love's a noun, not a verb. Is that correct? I shouldn't use English grammar rules. It is, right? Whereas we think to love is something I have to do. So I am love. Then where does self-love feature? Doesn't feature. Because my very nature is love. Now, in the East, not only in India, actually in the East, even within wherever there is Hindu, Buddhist psyche, which is now in very few places, this seeps through generational thinking and family thinking. What seeps through? You find. And so you'll see, if you have ever mentioned to a grandparent figure, like somebody 2 generations ago, 3 generations ago, that I don't like myself, they'll be like, you're fine. But their you fine is it's very matter of fact. It's not a assuring, sweetheart, you're fine, you're beautiful. It is. Sun shines, wind blows, you fine. Why are you fine? Because you're Brahman. And God doesn't make mistakes. He made you the way you were meant to be. This was the psyche in the East. And it came from understanding we are Brahman. And so it seeps through. And I remember I was traveling with Guruji in America, and there was this American devotee who was talking to Guruji and expressing to Guruji that she's trying really hard to do her sadhana and grow in her spirituality, but she feels really bad because she doesn't like herself and she feels she does everything wrong, and basically very low self-esteem, right? And very, very insecure. And so she was telling Guruji about this. And Guruji called me, I think the next day or something, after Bhiksham, and he said, you a psychologist? I said, well, kind of, Guruji. Explain to me, what is this low self-esteem? I said, when people don't like themselves, Guruji. Why they don't like themselves? Like, it was such a complete, why? Like, it did no idea of what that kind of mindset would feel like. This was one of the things that drew me to Guruji when I first met him, is that he's just so comfortable in his own skin. There's just, he is just who he is. So, so I'm still trying to explain to him what low self-esteem is. And I said, well, they think that whatever they do is not good, or they make too many mistakes. And so Guruji is looking at me, genuinely trying to understand. This was a long time ago. He's now totally, completely understood the concept. And so they can get better, right? Like if you feel you're not doing something right, learn and do it better. Like, why you want to beat yourself up about it? It's like, why don't you like yourself about it? It's just do it better. I loved the simplicity with which he thought, because actually, why don't we do that? Like, why do we keep thinking, I'm not good, I'm not good, I'm not good? Why don't we just get better? Like, it's that simple. But if we say that in the Western world, we get considered very insensitive and, heartless, because it's a serious issue in the West. So why? And we all now live in the West. So, it's myself included, grown up, and the psyche of the West is completely there. And so where does it come from? Where in the East, it doesn't exist. Didn't, past tense, exist. Now it exists. Where did it come from? So some people say, maybe not present day Christian, but if we go back a few decades, there is this incredible sense of, you are a sinner. And that is repeated very, very often. Yeah. And within the context of Christianity, Jesus had to sacrifice himself for our sins. And so you're not allowed to feel good about yourself, because he had to die because we so horrible. And whatever desire that comes up in the heart, and I know this is not all Christianity, but I'm just showing you where the mindset comes from. Of course, every tradition has its flaws, every tradition has its beauty. But whenever a desire arose in somebody's heart, it was, whether it be something like a sexual desire or ambition, or even, I think, to dance at one stage for very, very traditional communities, it was seen as you this horrible person with this dirty mind and this dirty heart. And so if that gets repeated often enough, it becomes the prevalent psyche. I'm not good enough. What I do is not good enough. I'm not worthy of being loved. Now, unfortunately, all of us tap into the psyche of the community, like total mind. Right now, all of us, well, we're coming out of the pandemic, hopefully, but when we were going into the pandemic, general psyche was fear, then each one of us kind of imbibed that fear a little bit more. Or when it's like a festival time, Christmas, Diwali, general psyche is very chirpy, festive. We also imbibe that general mood. We do, all of us do. Because we belong to the total. We create the total. The total mind is created by all of us. So if enough people are thinking, I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy of love. And why aren't I worthy of love? Because I'm being told I'm a sinner. And I need to redeem myself from these sins. And unfortunately, when am I redeemed? Like, if I do this much japa, I'm redeemed. I do this much charity, I'm redeemed. We don't feel we redeemed, right? Once anyone tells anyone you horrid, when does that redeemedness come? When do I stop being horrid? Even a parent telling a child, you irritating me, then that can get stuck in a child's head. I'm irritating, I'm not worthy of love, I'm not wanted. Then that mother will apologize for 3 whole days, but that thought won't go from the child's head until when? Until that child decides to let go of that thought. When are we redeemed? When we decide we're good enough, we are worthy of love. So here we are waiting for somebody to tell us. And it's not like people are not telling us. People are telling us all the time, we beautiful, we talented, we intelligent, we loving, we are loved. But the feeling within our heart will continue for as long as we believe it. What do we believe? Whichever thought that we have linked into through collective total thinking, or somebody said it and we have created that assumption in our head. And so now we have created an underlying belief system for ourselves. I am not good enough, or I am not worthy of love. Because so many people had developed this, like an entire generation, entire populations had developed this sense of, I am not good enough, I am not worthy of love. This concept of self-love got introduced. It's a fairly recent concept. I don't think it's older than 50 years. And maybe even more in the last 20, 30 years. Right? It was that you didn't hear it much before that because the psyche wasn't there. Yeah. Eastern psyche, it wasn't, well, it's not that there wasn't pressure to do well. Even in the East, there's a lot of discipline and there's a lot of need to get approval from elders. So like every system has it. And so like I said, it could be a general psyche of religion. It could be a parent telling a child, a teacher telling a child, or older sibling, anyone of influence telling us when we are younger or not even so young. And then we believe it. So if we then believe we are not worthy of love, if we then believe we are not good enough, then there is a need for self-love. Now, self-love is an interesting thing. If love is an interesting thing, so of course self-love is an interesting thing. Why would I love anyone or anything? So let me put it to you. You don't have to answer out aloud. You can just think about it. Think about the person you love the most. Why do you love them? Do you have a nice long list? How many of you have a nice long list of why you love them?
Just one line. I think it makes you feel good about who you are.
They make me feel good about who we are.
Isn't that what we want? We want love, we want acceptance, we want to feel good about who we are.
We do. We definitely do. So we love them if they give us what we want. No need to answer if you're not comfortable answering, and I'm not picking on any person. But is that when we love them?
I think it's more about accepting us the way we are, and regardless of how we are loving us.
Okay, so let me give you a scenario. This person who you love the most in the world and you have a horrible fight. Very yucky fight. And you crying and you angry and you're so upset. Do you still love them? They're not giving you what you want. They're not making you feel wonderfully accepted. In that moment of crying and anger, and even like when young children say it to their parents, I hate you. Have you heard young kids do that? Yeah. Even while they're saying it, they love that person. So what I'm trying to say is, when we love, there won't be a reason. The very nature of love is that it exceeds reasons. The most beautiful quote, which many of you would have heard, is, we like someone because of. So I like you because you are kind, because you are intelligent, because you are nice to me. But I love you in spite of. In spite of you keeping the room in such a mess, I love you. In spite of you never remembering my birthday, I love you. In spite of you being such a pain in the neck, far too many times, I love you. Love doesn't have reasons. How beautiful is love? And you see this in nature. Love in nature is shown in different ways. The sun shining is love. But it's not doing anything that it doesn't do. Like, why is that love? Like, stop just being poetic, Swamiji. Sun shining is sun shining. It's not love. Yes, it is. It's love. Because the sun's nature is to shine. And in doing what it does, it gives. In being what it's meant to be, it gives. It gives light, it gives warmth, it gives so many things. Vitamin D. The sun is not sitting there thinking, I need to give vitamin D to those people there in Hong Kong who are going through a bad patch of Omicron. No, sun is just shining. But in its giving, the nature of love is giving. In giving, we love. Always. When I love, I will give. I will give. I had met this one lady, and she was very cute. And she said, she had these small kids. And she said, sometimes I love them so much, I just take their hand and bite them. Like, who does that? You don't just bite people. And she's like, no, really? I just love, too much love comes. Then I just bite them. And I'm like, but why? And I didn't understand it for a long time. But basically, you want to give and there's nothing else to give. So she bites them. I know it doesn't always make sense. Love doesn't always make sense. But the idea is you want to do, you want to give. A kiss would have been better, but it's too much love, so she bites. Those poor kids. So they actually had teeth marks on their hands. I'm sure it's a great story for them to tell when they're older. What am I saying? Love gives, 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 gives. Love will give. It will just give. You know, we give affection, we give knowledge, we give time, we give our concern, we give talent, we give food. Indians definitely give food when they love. Just something, right? We want to give. So giving is love. In love, we give. The sun shining is giving. And so it's love. But the sun doesn't think so much about it. Doesn't have a reason to love us. Self-love. Do I need a reason to love myself? Love doesn't have reason. And so we have low self-esteem. We know the solution is self-love. And then we go about trying to practice self-love by finding reasons to love ourselves. But love doesn't have reasons. So if I'm making a whole long list of why I should love myself, won't work. As I'm sure you have experienced, because other people will come and tell you a whole long list of why you're so beautiful. Doesn't work. This list is not why we love, whether it be ourselves or anyone else. So I'm not sure if in the Western world we've completely understood self-love. And many a times people will ask me why I joined the ashram. Actually, that's been a great thing about COVID. No one's asked me why I've joined the ashram in a long time. Because, you know, pre-COVID, I used to travel and meet different people. And every week somebody would ask me, so why did you join the ashram? And of course, they want an interesting story, which I don't have. The real reason I joined the ashram. I was studying psychology with the hope to understand myself and help other people. Genuinely, I wanted to help other people. Didn't know how to do that, but I assumed that the psychology degree would show me how to do that. I also wanted to improve myself. I thought the psychology degree would show me how to do that as well. But fortunately for me, at the age of 19, I met this amazing woman, who we called as Mataji, who lived in Melbourne and was a student of Gurudev's from Chennai. And she had moved to live with her daughter in Melbourne, and she had started taking Gita classes. And I randomly turned up at one of her Gita classes and loved the Gita, loved the way she was explaining the Gita. So I started the psychology degree at 18, found Gita at 19, met Swamiji and Guruji at about 20, sorry, roundabouts. These might not be very accurate. Once I met Swamiji and Guruji, started studying Upanishads with Swamiji and Guruji around the age of 20. And started working as a psychologist at around 21, 22. And so many of the clients that I would have, I would think, I don't know how to help them. What do I do? I think the degree has improved over the years, but back then I really, especially since we did a lot of rats and mazes. And then there would be things I heard from the Gita and the Upanishads that would make so much sense. And I ended up counseling all my patients using stuff that I learned from the Gita and the Upanishads. And then it came to a point where I wasn't using, maybe some people say I still refer to it, so maybe I use it. So let's give it a little bit of credit. Let's say I use it 5 to 10%, my psychology knowledge. And I was using Gita and Upanishads 90%. Why did I join the ashram? I found answers. I found the knowledge helped. It actually brought about a change in me, and I could use it to help other people bring about a change in them. And it's as simple as that. That's why I joined the ashram. So even in terms of self-love, what would our scriptures say? What is self-love? Very simply, it's acceptance. When I look up at the sky and I see the moon, and the moon is 3/4, is it beautiful? Think about it. You're thinking very hard about it. Is it? Is it beautiful?
Yeah, it's beautiful.
If it's just one thin slice, is it beautiful? If it's a full moon, is it beautiful? Is part of the moon covered by the clouds and you can only see this very little bit? Is it beautiful? When is the moon not beautiful? Doesn't happen, right? Do we ever look up at the sky and say, no, it's not a full moon, that's not good enough? Why? Why don't we do that? We look at ourselves and tell ourselves we're not good enough. Why don't we tell the moon, you're not a full moon, you're not good enough? We have such complete acceptance that the moon will change, it will wax and it will wane, and we see it as beautiful at no matter what point it is. We accept. When we look at flowers in nature or landscape, we will say it's beautiful. There'll be one dead tree. There'll be so many weeds growing. Some of us won't even know those are weeds. We will say, it's beautiful. Some weeds are really beautiful. But they're weeds. When we look at ourselves, the smallest thing we find flaw. This is not right. This is too big. This is too small. This is too pointy. I'm too harsh, I'm too blunt, I'm too funny, I'm too quiet, I'm too loud, I'm too soft. Everything I'm too. Why don't we find fault with nature? We accept it is what it is. The sun, the moon, the flowers, the hillsides. Mm. And we're slowly losing that. What do I mean? I think I've said this the other day too. So growing up, when we had fruit, the fruit didn't look so incredible. Tasted good, but maybe one bird pecked on it, maybe some bruise on it, some. We happily ate it without thinking much of it. Today, you go supermarket, we're so fussy. It should look perfect. Does it taste perfect? No. But we want it to look, so much so that they genetically modify things to look a certain way. We starting to lose the ability to just accept for what it is. Okay, so what is self-love? This is me. Whatever's there. It just is. Like the moon in the sky, like the flower in the garden, like the fruit in the tree. It just is. And then if there's something I don't like about myself, well, exactly what Guruji said. Once I accept myself, then I'm empowered to change. Without accepting myself, if I'm so busy criticizing myself, there's no energy left to change because all the energy is used in criticizing. And that's why the voice in our head has now been called by more people as inner critic. It doesn't get called voice in our head. It gets called inner critic because what's it doing? Criticizing. But actually it's voice in head. It doesn't need to be criticizing. It's just my self-talk. So if my self-talk is so busy criticizing, I won't have energy to change and I don't have motivation to change and I can't figure out how to change. The moment I accept, this is me. Now I have so much time to think about how to change. I have so much energy. Actually, when you faltu, you do constructive things, right? Like when lockdown first happened, so many people cleaned out their house. It's nice. Of course, the houses are no longer clean because, 3 years later, how much to clean? But with our own self-talk, because it's never going to go anywhere and it's just with me all the time, I accept this is me. Now in that silence, there's strength to actually change things. There's time to actually understand how to change it and what to change it to. And so our scriptures would say, low self-esteem is a great excuse not to change. And you just make yourself feel good about what you don't think is good. Our scriptures are ruthless. They will not tolerate excuse. You are divine. And if you are divine, there's no reason for you to be miserable. There's no reason for you to be feeling dukkhy about yourself. There's no reason that you don't have the strength to change. That really hit me hard. Because, of course, as a teenager growing up in the Western world, like every other teenager, I had plenty of low self-esteem. And the first time I heard this, that in low self-esteem, we're actually thinking too much about ourselves, then how will you think about anyone else? How will you love anyone else if you're thinking so much about yourself? I was actually horrified. I was actually horrified that I had created a habit of sitting and criticizing myself, and then there was no time to think about other people. If I'm thinking about other people, there won't be the time to sit and criticize myself. Yeah. So, Swami Vivekananda used to say, this is the greatest sin. What's the greatest sin? Criticizing yourself. Not murder, huh? What's the greatest sin according to Swami Vivekananda? Criticizing yourself. Of course, when I heard this, I thought, oh, great, now I'm a sinner. All I do is sin because I'm criticizing myself. But you have to understand why he's saying it. If I am divine, and then I criticize myself, I'm criticizing divinity. And that's why our grandmothers would say, God made no mistakes. He made you the way you're supposed to be. Are you second guessing God's creation here? You think you know better than him? Because that's what we're doing. Okay, take take God out of the equation.
Every 20 years.
If we take God out of the equation, I am divine. He didn't make me, I made myself. How did I make myself? By the thoughts I have thoughted and the actions I have done. And if I made myself, I can remake myself. How? By the thoughts I think and the actions I do. When we love someone, we want the best for them. When we want the best for us, is it love? Is it selfishness? This is a trick question. So think about it carefully. What's the question? When I love someone, I want the best for them. When I love myself, when I want the best for myself, is it self-love or is it selfishness? You thinking about it? Let me know when you come up with an answer. You can message to me privately on the chat if you don't want to talk, because I know there's a lot of people on the call.
I think it's self-love. No?
Any other takers? Self-love as best for myself means we will work hard to get the best for myself. So it is self-love. 2 takers for self-love.
Self-love.
It's self-love. We have quite a few takers for self-love. We have Maslow's hierarchy. Eventually, all of us get to self-love. It's self-love because of Maslow's hierarchy. Self-actualization. Okay. Tell me something else. Do we know what's best for us? No, we don't. So when we want the best for us, actually what we want is what we think we want. It's our desires. We want to attain this, that, and the other because we think those are good things. But that's not actually the best for us. So loving ourselves is different from loving other people. It's having the faith in ourselves that we can get through whatever it is we need to get through. So self-love and self-faith may be a little bit interchangeable. Having the confidence that if I have to get through this, whatever this is, maybe a date, maybe an interview, maybe an illness, maybe a marriage problem, maybe economic stress, maybe whatever it is, I can get through this. If I don't believe in God, then I have to just have the faith in my own self, which is fine. If I do believe in God, then I have faith that I'll get through this because He'll help me get through this. But I'm still getting through this. Even though He is helping me get through this, it's still me that's getting through this. So, self-love takes a very different form in terms of our scriptures and in terms of how we practice it. Firstly, there's nothing romantic about it. It's just acceptance of what is. And in acceptance of what is, remember, there's immense beauty. But there's also recognition of what needs to be done and doing that, changing, growing, improving, learning, developing, adjusting. And lastly, it's having the faith that I can. If I don't have faith in myself, then it's really useful to have faith in God. Now, the last thing I want to talk about in terms of self-love, because I know we're running out of time. In the Gita, there's this beautiful verse, Uddharetatmanatmanam, na atma avasadaret. Comes in chapter 6, verse 6. Awesome verse. Uddharetatmanatmanam, lift yourself by yourself. Na atma avasadaret, never criticize yourself. Sri Krishna actually says in that many words, Do not put yourself down. And so when Bujja Gurudev talks about this verse in chapter 6, he says, all of us have this slight split in how we see ourselves. There is the ideal self, what I want to be. All of us have this, what we want to be, right? I want to be incredibly kind and compassionate. I want to be very disciplined and efficient. I want to be effective in the work that I do. Or it might be a little bit less drastic. I just want to be popular, whatever. But we have an ideal of what it is we want to be. 98% of the population are not their ideal self. So this is what we really are. And this is what we want to be. And the gap between this, the bigger the gap, the worse I feel. The smaller the gap, the better I'm going to feel. But now there's another very interesting thing. This is my ideal self. This is what I am. Most of us, something like 80% of us, overshoot this. And this is where I am, but this is where I'll see myself. And so this is ideal self. This is where I see myself. This is where I am. This gap is very dangerous. Ideal self, where I am, this gap I can close. This gap, where I see myself, where I actually am, how am I going to close this gap? I'm not even acknowledging it exists. This is probably why most of us have self-esteem issues. We overshoot seeing what we actually are and then feel frustrated that we're not improving. Self-love is see it as it is. As horrid as you are, see it for all of it. And then do your best. Even though we do our best, it's very trying. So very often when I would have horrible moments of feeling terrible about myself and too tired to work on myself anymore, not even knowing exactly what self-talk I should be using in my head. There wasn't, there was no YouTube in those days. You couldn't watch 100 TED Talks telling you what to think. Now it's so easy to get information. Those days you had to find the right book, read the whole book, and then you knew what to do. Although it had its perks. That had its perks. I would come and I would sit in front of Pujya Gurudev's picture here. You can do this in front of the Lord, any form of the Lord. Let's say, you made me, and now you fix it. Because I'm trying, and it doesn't seem to be working. In fact, I might have made it worse. Sorry about that. Now you fix it. And with all my heart, I'd give it to him. Give what to him? My sorrow, my fear, my confusion. Yeah, take. Give myself to you. Now you do. That was the most effective for me. It may or may not be the most effective for everyone. But once I had done that, once I would have told Gurudev, now you fix it, there was this sense of relief that I didn't have to. And in that sense of relief that I didn't have to, there was space and strength and clarity to actually do myself a fair bit, what I had to. But if I mucked up, it was his fault. And if I got it right, it was his fault. And so self-love's got to do a lot with our love for God. If we do have that devotion, it's an incredible strength. Because sometimes when I'm not able to love myself, I can still love him. And as long as I'm feeling love, that love will do what it needs to do. It will empower, it will cleanse, it will adjust, and it will give. So, how will I love myself? By remembering who I am. Either I'm divine and already love, or I'm his devotee and he's love, and he'll fix it. And I'll help where I can. I pause here for today. Any questions?
Swamini Supriyanjali, may I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Sure, thank you. Yeah, no, it was very nice, by the way. And I think you're beautiful, as is everyone else here. So thank you for sharing this on self-love. Question is, if we're in an environment that is quite unconducive to self-love, for example, either at work where the system is designed to constantly criticize people or bring them down for the objectives of the organization, or you're around people that have very high self-esteem, so there's this kind of constant comparison or a kind of constant you're not quite good enough kind of environment, what can we do to kind of, I guess, close off all that and then be able to remain in our kind of Brahman groundedness? Thank you.
The outside of environment doesn't affect us as much as our self-talk. I know this beautiful person who had baked a cake for me and asked me how it was. I very honestly said, actually, it's not that good. And she looked at me with such seriousness and said, you're kidding, right? It's amazing. Of course it's good. You're just saying that. She didn't even take the criticism. She didn't do it. It was like water off a duck's. It didn't feature. And, even if you try and tell her, no, really seriously, I think you could improve on this. Sure, I'll improve, but even this is good. So, and I'm not even making this up. That's this, and I know a few people like this. So outside environment can be whatever outside environment is. We are responding to our own self-talk. When somebody else criticizes us, do we agree? Then we feel horrible. If we don't agree, or if we see it objectively, right? Like, I know another person who would say, yeah, it didn't quite come out nice. That's okay. I'll go buy you something else. And then there's other people, oh, you didn't like it? Oh no, I'm so sorry. I'm really not good. I should have got somebody else to make it because I'm not good. And it's really our own self-talk. And that's a matter of habit. Our self-talk is a matter of habit. Somebody may already think himself, already reach their ideal self. One may too be confident that he has reached it. However, we don't criticize ourselves. What do we need to understand ourselves, need to adjust, grow, change, and go through the dangerous gap? So, Micha, this is what you're trying to say is maybe I'm not seeing falsely. I can actually see myself for what I am. Is that what you're saying? Is he still there? So I had mentioned, yeah, Micha's still there. So I had mentioned this is our ideal self. This is what we are, and this is what we see ourselves. And I said this was the gap that was dangerous. Is it possible that we don't have this gap and we really are seeing ourselves the way we are? Yeah, it is possible. So we might not have that deluded gap. And the more spiritual practices we do, the more likely we are not to have that deluded gap. And the more we're able to just accept ourselves, we're able to see that gap also goes as well. I hope I've answered. Any other questions? Yes, Meri Dori Tere Haath. Yeah. Let him guide. In his hand, let him guide. Correct. Okay. If that's everyone, if there's no more questions, we'll conclude. In last week's class, I narrated a story that Guruji talked about how much God loves us and how much God wants to be able to be a part of our lives and to help us along in our journey. There was a science teacher who was very fond of soccer. And there was this student, a soccer player, who needed to get into the chemistry class, the science teacher's chemistry class. And the chemistry teacher was really wanting to help the soccer player, but he knew he wasn't particularly good in chemistry. And so he thought he'll make the question paper super simple for the student so that he can pass. And so the question on the paper was, what is table salt made up of? So apparently this is a very simple chemistry question. Sodium something it is. So you can tell how good I am at chemistry, right? Phosphate, carbonate, something. Anyway, the soccer player didn't know the answer. And so he looked up at the teacher like, I don't know. And the teacher really wanted this guy to get in, right? So he said, that's the correct answer. You answered you don't know, and that's correct. You don't know. Pass, you in. And it's that, you know, we beat ourselves up about our nose looking a certain way, or some comment we make to somebody, or our inability to bake a cake, or, and yeah, God is trying to find any reason whatsoever to love us. Like, so we've wandered so far away from divinity when we actually in it. Like the fish can't leave the ocean. The fish are in the ocean. We are in divinity. Yeah. And it's as simple as that. We are divine. And if we don't believe it, so believe He is divine. And believe His divinity is so much more powerful than our small minds. Believe His divinity more than our negative self-talk. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sarve Santu Niramaya Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschit Dukha Bhag Bhavet Asato Ma Satgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya Om Purnamata Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti Shanti Shanti